Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. It's Wednesday, February 7th. I'm joined by the Blueprint, Matt Morgan. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be back.
It's always great having you on the Wednesday podcast. So thanks for being here. Glenn is feeling under the weather, so he could not make it today. But Chris Featherstone of the Pancakes and Power Slam show also writes for Wrestling Inc. will be joining us here shortly. So we got a lot to talk about. SmackDown last night. Real quick, Matt, overall thoughts of last night's show?
Putting my boy in situations again where he does not prevail on the microphone.
Which one, AJ or Bobby Roode?
Sorry. I apologize. Oh, good point. AJ in this particular case, but yeah, Bobby's wasn't much better. AJ, I didn't. Yeah. He is the B player at the moment as the heavyweight champion to their A storyline. Isn't that crazy?
I know. I wish they would. I wish they would do more with him, make him stand out more as a superstar. They make him look kind of like an idiot by the end. You know, with him attacking Owens and Sammy, he just comes across as foolish. But I did think his promo was better this week. He's not doing the cammy stuff. Right. So I thought it was a little better, but I wish he'd get better material because, I mean, he's over with the crowd. I mean, they respond to him. So
he's good. And with when he was at TNA, the thing is, you need to AJ. We all have our strengths, right? We do, and some of us have our weaknesses. AJ, I'm not gonna say his promos are weak or his weakness, but there are areas where he does need to be scripted. He just does, and that's where again the writers fail a lot of these guys.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think tonight's show was a great example of it. Overall, I thought it was an easy show to watch. Did you get to watch Mixed Match Challenge or 205 Live?
Yeah. I watched both actually this week.
I thought both of those were really good. Mixed Match Challenge. We'll get to those in a minute after SmackDown, but it was a fun show. Now let's jump to SmackDown. So it opened up Shane McMahon doing a promo. He talked about Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens going on, the winner of the match tonight going on to face AJ at Fastlane. We had predicted or talked about the possibility of them doing a double pin or something where it was a draw. They did it a little differently. So he said they don't deserve another opportunity. Daniel Bryan came out. This led to AJ coming out. Let me see that. There was a loud Rusev day during this promo, and Shane replied, duly noted. And then later, Daniel Bryan made a crack about needing a pay raise. Everyone started chanting yes, and Daniel Bryan dropped a duly noted. So some good improv there.
Yes.
So, Shane was saying the Yep movement was a cheap imitation of what Daniel Bryan created. They just going back and forth. I felt like, I don't know, nothing really happened in this promo. AJ came out, said he's kind of sick of both of them because he's the one that suffers with them always bickering. And that was kind of it. He just said he's going to leave WrestleMania as the WWE champion, and that was it. Nothing really set up. I guess it furthered the Shane Daniel Bryan storyline. Where is this going? Where do you think?
I keep praying that it means they let Daniel Bryan wrestle somehow. There's still the fan in me that's begging to see this, and maybe and it overtakes my logical side that there's no way it could happen. Because otherwise, you tell me. Because when I was I hate using TNA as an example because it's not the same as apples to oranges. But when I was there, everyone was always crucifying, us using Dixie Carter and storylines because there's no payoff, right? Yeah. Or when Stephanie McMahon would be in segments, there's no payoff, right? If she's the ultimate heel, right? Well, where's the payoff here if neither one of them can wrestle each other?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Shane can wrestle, but if the payoff is Daniel Bryan as a special referee, that's just
not enough.
Yeah, for like a 6-month build by the time WrestleMania comes around, it just and that's been the top storyline on SmackDown.
Of them controlling all the airtime and controlling all the promo time, in-ring promo time, which is even more valuable. You know what I mean? There needs to be a better payoff than that. And AJ keeps coming across like if AJ was not the champion. And let's say he was the heel in all of this, I could see like this being somewhat okay with how they're booking him. But this is our babyface world champion.
He's the WWE champion playing second fiddle to a guy that can't wrestle and a guy that wrestles twice, 2 or 3 times a year.
And his opponents to a degree.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. We'll have to see, but there's 9 matches kind of in the works for WrestleMania right now. We had posted the rumored WrestleMania card. Nothing really clear regarding Shane, Daniel Bryan, where all this is going. So,
what's the rumor for AJ?
Well, it's Nakamura.
Oh, duh. Yeah, of course. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's AJ Nakamura. Here, let me just run down what's rumored so far, and we can talk about it later. But AJ Nakamura, obviously, Brock and Reigns, and now all this can change.
Right.
I mean, it changes all the time, but Meltzer reported Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. I just with how WWE does things, I could see them turning that into a multiple person women's match, unless they do like a women's battle royal or something. Because now they're doing, all the specialty matches, they're doing them for the women. So maybe they'll have like an Andre battle royal named after someone else, like Moolah or Mae Young, and do a women's battle royal as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we got Asuka and Charlotte Flair, Braun Strowman and The Miz, Ronda Rousey and a partner. Obviously, they're hoping to get The Rock, but I think it'll be tough for him to do it. If they don't, they could always do Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. John Cena versus The Undertaker, the finals of the Cruiserweight title, and of course Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So that's 9 so far already.
Wow.
Not much there, like really knocking their socks off. I mean, Cena and The Undertaker will easily overshadow everything else, I think, so far. And AJ and Nakamura from an in-ring standpoint
will be awesome. Like, I'm actually looking forward to that a lot.
I just hope they give it time because, like we've said, they've been treating AJ secondary. So hopefully they don't treat this match as secondary.
Nah.
Yeah. So there was New Day promo. Big E had a funny line about Corey Graves. That was later in the show, so I'll get to that. So we went to a commercial. What was next? Oh, so we had Charlotte Flair against Liv Morgan in a non-title match. Liv Morgan out with the Riot Squad. Charlotte gets the win with the figure 8. I don't know. Nothing. I just feel like the Riot Squad has no chemistry.
They don't. A good little feature for Liv Morgan, though. I thought is anytime you get an opportunity to wrestle, in a match like that versus Charlotte, you know what I mean? It's a good opportunity to showcase you can get it done in the ring at least. So that's like the only upside in this, you know what I mean? But creatively, storyline-wise and character-wise, like you're saying, not much being done.
Yeah, I feel like Liv and Ruby Riott can be strong personalities on their own. Yes. I think Sarah Logan. I actually think Sarah Logan can use some time in NXT and just get some seasoning.
She shouldn't have been called up, but the reason she was much like I'm guessing when I got called up was like they were sandwiching me with veterans like Brock and guys like that and Big Show, and where I wouldn't have to do too much, some power moves, scream at them, you know what I mean? So like I think that was something similar where she was sandwiched in with 2 other girls with a little bit more experience. She's the bigger of the bunch, so she stands out. But that's the problem. When you're bigger, dude, they've got to leave you in the cooker longer. That's just the way it is. Same with me. They should have left me in OVW for 1.5 years at least before pulling me up. Not 6 months.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll see. We'll see where they go with that. Up next, we had Renee Young approaching Kevin Owens backstage, asking if his friendship with Sami Zayn can survive the main event. Mm-hmm. Owens said that she, for once, had a good question, but she's asking the wrong person. She's asking the wrong person because it's up to Sami losing to him, if he can handle losing to him. So Owens is great. And then Bludgeon Brothers in a squash match against a couple of enhancement talents. Nothing much here. Double crucifix bomb for the win. The big thing was then they were leaving. And once again, they kind of teased something with the Usos because as they were leaving, the Usos were heading back or were coming to the ring. So they squared off. They looked at each other for a second, and Bludgeon Brothers went to the back. Usos came out, did a promo. Bludgeon Brothers, got anything to add to that?
Just that if these two do have a match, which they will, obviously, the match itself is going to be very good because all 4 can go. Bludgeon Brothers are good.
Yeah.
They just have the most ridiculous costumes and outfits known to man. But as far as in ring goes, I'm telling you that's going to be a good tag match as far as once the bell rings.
Yeah, I mean, they've had matches before. They had a feud in the past before, and the matches were great when they were with the Wyatts against the Usos. You look at them now; that seems like a long time ago. And the Usos bringing up in their promo, how they used to wear face paint and where they are now. I don't know. It was the Usos delivered this promo well, but it seemed very, very pointless. Like it was just to fill time.
I think because they're so honestly, my opinion since I've been watching SmackDown is they're the ones I'm always most impressed with, if I'm being honest, on the mic. Yeah. So I think they're getting reviews, rave reviews of people being like, these guys are freaking awesome on the mic. Let's just keep giving them more time. Well, you got to give them a little bit of direction here, guys, as well. Yeah. Now, direction is not putting stupid slammer doors on the damn graphics either. God. Yeah. That's not direction. That's the direction we don't want. But you know what I mean? I think some circumstances when you give somebody a mic and say, just go. You got 4 minutes tonight. Talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, which I doubt is what was told them. But to a degree, maybe it was. That's when guys get over, usually. They sink or swim. They start to come up with their own little isms and characteristics, and they get a chance to be themselves. And that's why I think the Usos are really hitting not a home run, but they're doing really well with their promos because they're feeling themselves finally. Yeah,
I agree. On the mic, I mean, where they were 2 years ago and where they are now, I mean, they have come a long way, and they really come across as something special when they're out there.
Well, that's cool.
So we go to Daniel Bryan, who reveals the SmackDown top 10 list, which I don't know what the hell this is. They're saying it's it's voted on by the stars and it's going to help them make booking decisions, but they don't say what. Number 10 is Ty Dillinger, so that right away tells you if it's legitimate or not. Kevin, I should say right off the bat, no Kevin Owens, no Sami Zayn. They didn't even make the list, who are in the main event.
Right.
Rusev wasn't on the list. Number 9, you got Randy Orton. So Randy Orton's behind Naomi and Becky Lynch, Bobby Roode. Right. Number 8's Becky Lynch. 7's the Usos. 6 the New Day. 5 Bobby Roode. 4 Naomi. 3 Nakamura. 2 Charlotte Flair, and 1 AJ Styles. I have the feeling that if the people backstage were really voting on this, AJ Styles would be number 1.
Yes.
But Randy Orton number 9. Owens and Sami not even on the list. I don't know what the hell this is.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that either as to who, you know what I mean? It just seems like another phony list to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what thare doing with it. If they're saying, okay, since this person's number 2 next week, we're booking a match between them. But it sounded like, Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
It didn't make any sense to me at all. I was excited about the concept because I was thinking about the old school WCW, top 10 number 1 contender, what they used to do back in the day. I kind of thought it was that concept, but when they start doing champions and then, mixing the man and the woman, it just didn't make sense to me at all. So essentially you're saying, hey, I can't pick myself, but I'm going to pick this person to be number 6. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. And just you had the Usos. The New Day is my favorite tag. I love the New Day, but it made no sense that they were above the Usos.
Right.
Yes. And the Usos beat them to become champions, and they beat them again to retain the championship. That didn't make any sense at all. I love Naomi. She's my favorite female wrestler. How in the world is she the 4th best person on SmackDown right now? I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, that was. There's nothing else to add to that, but yes.
If you thought about this list for more than a minute, it's just full of. It just came off as complete BS. Between this and the graphics that they have with the words popping up on the screen, I hate that because the words are popping up a lot of times before the wrestlers even say their lines. So it comes across as so scripted and extra phony.
You guys are 100% right.
The promo between Benjamin and Gable when they were like shoving the board before the Ascension, Gable said punchline, and for some reason punchline was like it just popped up right when he said it. I'm like, okay, so I mean, how do you explain that? It doesn't make any sense at all. You just knew that he was going to say punchline.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for there to be a backstage attack, and someone's like,
right.
You get this, and it's popping up on the screen like the words.
The old 1960s Batman.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, kapow. Yep.
Yeah. And they're not doing this on Raw, and like the stupid list thing. So it seems like they're just throwing crap at SmackDown. Just trying these gimmicks instead of making real efforts to shake the talent up, make the show better, really give it a spark.
Okay, let's be fair though. The only because I don't want to sound like I waffle on this. I don't, but so we can't. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we lost you there for a second.
I don't want to crap on everything, that's new and that they're trying,
right?
Because it's going to discourage them from keep trying new things that we desperately as fans want them to keep doing, as far as trying new things and paying more attention to what the fans want. And it is going to take trial and error situations like this to maybe get to something bigger one day. You know what I mean? I don't know what that bigger thing is one day, but you know what I mean? There's things along the journey that will get you there, whether it's the technology of putting this stupid up or the stupid slammer door shutting on Usos promos.
Oh,
or
goodness.
whatever have you. There has to be. I have to believe it in my heart that it gets to something that's the, I don't know, the embers of a future great idea.
Yeah.
I just wish they would turn more to what the NFL is doing or what the UFC is doing as far as ideas for, production changes and stuff like that, as opposed to Nickelodeon and because that's a very kiddie show with the words popping up and
call me naive. Like what's NFL and UFC doing like that you like?
Well, just character profiles like they did for Roderick Strong, before on 205 Live.
Yeah.
Like that's really effective. You really feel connected. You feel like what you're watching is real, and it gives you a reason to get behind them.
Or even on Raw when they did the vignettes before Asuka and Bayley.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and UFC where they just kind of piece together bits and clips of, promos before the match. Where it just comes across as realistic. So just things like that, things that make what you're watching feel more real as opposed to even more scripted. And maybe that's the way wrestling is going, and it's just passing me by. But
no,
anyway.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, no.
Real quick, what do y'all think? I apologize for missing this part, but I imagine y'all talked about the Usos promo.
Yeah.
Nope, you don't get to go back. You missed it. Sorry.
I'll move forward and give you my opinion. I'm just not buying it. I can't do it. I'm not.
You don't like them?
I love the Usos in the ring. Their promo is just. I can't.
Really?
I can't connect to it. No, I can't. I can't connect to it.
Here's what I told Raj really quick. I'm not trying to take over their time. I apologize, Raj. But what I told Raj earlier was, I think that they've been getting good reviews from their promos. I really do. And I think this week they gave them a little bit more run time to say what they want, as versus being maybe a little bit more scripted.
I can see that.
Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
And I think they still need a little direction, obviously, because some of those promos that they do, I'm sitting there going, holy like they're the best talkers on SmackDown right now.
I think they just needed a little bit more kind of call and response. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times with promos, that type of format works. Because, the Kansas City crowd was just really disconnected when they were just start talking about what Jay say. He said lemonade, Kool-Aid, and some of that purple stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude?
Wow.
I mean,
I thought their delivery was great. I think the problem is that there was no point to it. And I think what the problem right now is the Usos don't have a feud. So it's like, do they just not have them on TV at all? Do they have them? And they have like 3 other tag teams on, SmackDown. So it's like, do they just have the Usos squash them tag team that they've already faced a bunch of times? Or do we just have them go out and do something to fill some time that at least gets them out there until their feud with the Bludgeon Brothers kind of kicks in?
Yeah, I can see that too. That makes sense. When they were cutting promos with the New Day, it was better to me. But now it's just like, up in the clouds. Like there's no rhyme or reason to just, cutting promos. Back in the day, we experienced, because what, Ric Flair at the Coliseum, they would tell the person and tell where you're going to be at on Saturday night. You know what I mean?
It was always, and yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And
it was always who, what, when, where, why in the promo, every promo. Yeah.
Exactly. There was a connectivity there that the fans had. But with the Usos, sometimes it's just kind of up in space somewhere.
But you got to admit, they don't give the guys anymore anything to sell. There was nothing correct. For the Usos to – there was no business at hand for the Usos to sell to the audience tonight except them.
Yeah. Because right now they're starting this Bludgeon Brothers feud, but they're doing it, just teasing it right now. And then, they're going to obviously have the Bludgeon Brothers attack the Usos or do something, but they don't want to get there yet. So it was just a way to kill time.
I'm okay with the tease. I think that adds a little bit more depth to it instead of just throwing out the feud.
Yeah.
I'm actually totally fine with that. I just think that it was, and I agree. It makes a lot of sense, Matt, what you're saying as far as their promos probably getting some good positive reviews backstage, and then they're giving a little bit more mic time. It's just you got to kind of put some rhyme and reason with it, in my opinion.
Yeah. So after the Daniel Bryan top 10 list, the New Day, you knew Big E was going to get in a jab at Corey Graves and Booker T. So he said something about them being ranked number 6, and he goes, 6, that's the percent of chance I give Corey Graves in a street fight. That was even though 6 seems kind of high, but
yeah, I agree. Probably 0.6.
But so we had that. One thing, I got a couple DMs regarding me saying, the Corey Graves Booker T stuff is not a work, with people saying, "Oh, you really think Booker T is going to attack Corey Graves on the street?" When I say it's not a work, I mean it's not something that WWE has planned and is leading to a match. If Booker is trying to get something out of it or building it up to get more people listening to his podcast, that's one thing. I don't know what Booker's intentions are, but when I say it's not a work, it's not WWE planning this out. It's not Booker T and Corey Graves working an angle. It's Booker. For whatever reason, it seemed to me that he's ticked at Corey, believes Corey is the reason. Really threatened him, then wanted to back off a little bit, so changed it to challenging him to a fight. And when he realized he's saying stuff that could get him in trouble, then changed it to a WrestleMania match and stuff like that. But it's not something WWE is planning or it's going somewhere.
Yeah, it may be a worked shoot on Booker's end, but definitely not sanctioned by the WWE. It just seems as if Booker really he really wants to take him to the streets, as he would say. And, that's probably 100% legit, but at the same time, at the end of the day, he's trying to create stories for people to, make him to talk about him. And he's done that. he's done that. I don't know I don't know what it would do with this WWE status. I had a lot of questions about that from people on my show last night. What does that do with this WWE status? I'm not sure, but it definitely got some people talking about him. So that worked for him in that aspect.
Go ahead, Matt.
It's one of two things. It's what you said earlier, to a degree. It's one of two things here. Okay, it's Booker, going into business for himself, trying to get something out of this, or he was being very serious as him wanting to beat the holy hell out of Corey Graves, which is what I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Could be another thing too with Booker. People pointed out that Booker's praised Corey Graves on Twitter in the past. Things change, obviously. Mm-hmm. I mean, just because you like someone a year ago doesn't mean you like him today. But it's clear
Brett and Sean for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect example.
Yeah, it's clear that Booker was getting annoyed as hell with Corey on commentary over the last several months, and it could be a thing that he just wants it out there that Corey is the reason why he lost his job and not because he sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So is he no longer part of WWE at all?
No, he is. So supposedly he's still supposed to work the kickoff shows and that kind of stuff, like the
ambassador work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if WWE has a talk with him, because I'd be worried about using him if he's sending threats to current employees.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway, so off that tangent. So next we went to Rusev versus Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode's the face, Rusev's the heel, but everyone's chanting for Rusev and going for Rusev.
Told you they shouldn't have done this. Told you they shouldn't have done this.
Yeah. So do you guys think that fans legitimately like Rusev, or they like the Rusev Day gimmick as something kind of fun and ironic, and they find it cute and it's that, as opposed to Rusev himself?
Yes. The second.
Yeah, B. Yeah.
Yeah.
B for me as well. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when people ask why WWE is not pushing Rusev more, I think they probably think that too. You know, that it's not Rusev himself. Rusev himself is not getting the fan following, but this gimmick.
The biggest fear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You sure?
Yep.
The biggest fear, guys, would be this. Okay, so let's listen to the Rusev Day chants. Let's take the U.S. title off of Bobby Roode, and now you put it on Rusev. I assure you, 3-4 weeks into it, it's not what it was. The fans, you know what I mean, chanting and being excited and whatnot. I'm telling you, it dies. And now you just killed Bobby Roode off in the process.
That's exactly right. 100% right. I totally agree with that. And we saw that in a mixed match challenge when he got booed during his promo with Lonnie. He said, "Don't boo me." You know what I mean? And it's like, and that just goes to show, like, I strongly think that the WWE is very meticulous in eyeing stuff like that. And there are probably some discussions saying, well, maybe we should take this a little further and see where this goes. But once they see that they're just booing Rusev without calls during this mixed match challenge promo with Lana, there are some reservations there. You know, this Rusev Day probably won't last very long.
Yeah, is Rusev himself going to get you to care for a match? I think he can. We've been talking for years.
He's so talented, yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking for years how they should turn him babyface, use his natural wit, and use that for his character. But it's got to be him and not just something cute that they can't, that Aiden English and they scripted one day that fans took to.
Right.
And I think he will get there. I mean, you're starting to see more and more of his personality coming out. So. And him getting more promo time where he doesn't have to be this anti-American, just Nikolai Volkov heel, and he's starting to be more funny, and he's naturally very funny. So it's a good thing for him, but I kind of see where WWE is coming from right now. It's not people are not buying tickets to see Rusev; they just have fun with it right now.
It's a fad. It's a fad, is what it is.
Good call. And the part about I don't like though is as meticulous as they are. Why put Bobby in that spot to begin with? Why?
Right.
Why?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Bobby, Cody Rhodes had an interesting tweet, this week about how Vince McMahon doesn't hold back any talent. Pretty much that Vince pushes talent where he sees them, and Bobby isn't. He's not lighting things on fire. How much of that is the way he's booked? I mean, we keep talking about how he should be a heel, but at the same time, is he doing enough as a babyface? Like, can he do stuff as a babyface character to get himself kind of out of where he's at right now?
I'll take really quick. I'll go through this quickly as to why he is doing everything, because he's not used to being a babyface, right? Mm-hmm. And you're supposed to play to everybody's strengths and hide their weaknesses, all right, as booking 101 goes. Bobby is a badass heel, true and through. He is a quarterback in that match, no matter who he's in there with. He can lead any of us to a double. That is the heel's job. You keep him heel. And because he's not used to being a babyface, he has no choice but to go with what the crap they've written for him, because he doesn't know who he is as a babyface, quite frankly, yet. He doesn't. So he's feeling himself out as we speak on TV, when the easier path would have been let him be who he knows he is, that villain, that heel, that Arn Anderson style of gritty heel who cuts great promos, by the way, as a heel. The whole "I got more money than you" stuff. We saw it in NXT. He's great at that. So that is, in my opinion, them hindering him. Yes.
Let me ask you this, Matt. Great point. And let me ask you this though: with people like Bobby Roode and Chris Jericho's alluded to this before. Seth Rollins has alluded to this as well, among others. Do you think maybe Bobby Roode likes the challenge of becoming the babyface because he knows his ace in the hole is that heel character? But a lot of times he's 40 years old. Maybe he likes just challenges and something that it kind of add more layers to his character. Do you think that he's embracing that?
If I was wanting to make him look better in front of the front office, I'd say yes. Mm-hmm. However, in real world, no, because of the fact he's 40, because of the fact it's taken him this long to get to WWE, which is BS to begin with. Here's his chance. He wants to cash in with what he knows best and what he's best at so he can hit the ground running, not the unknown. No effing way, no.
Yeah, and let's be clear. It's not his choice to be a babyface. That's WWE giving him that role, and I think the glorious entrance is hurting him because he has that entrance. I'm sure they're like, okay, fans are going to pop for this entrance, so let's make him a babyface anyway. I think turn him heel and have him. I know people are going to get mad at this, but have him get a new theme. Get him a heelish theme.
Oh. I was going to say, let him do what he was doing in NXT. Let him do what he was doing on NXT. I'm lost, all right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
On NXT, he was being cheered while being a heel, right? So that's all you had to keep him doing.
Yeah, but
they should have just stayed out of the way of what was working in NXT, in my opinion.
Yeah. I get real critical about that stuff, though. Because
me too, because it's a different vacuum audience. I get that.
Yeah. And a lot of times when the heels get cheered, I think it poops on the babyface. It doesn't put the babyface over.
That's true.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I would say get rid of the glorious theme is so it gets a heel reaction, like all the way from the beginning to the end, as opposed to fans loving the entrance and then
guys. You book him against heels is what I'm saying. You book him against heels, but you let him, Bobby, nothing changes. You act like a heel. You act like you did at NXT. We're going to line you up against a ton of different heels. Do not change your game.
Like Austin and Punk.
Yeah, I can see that. You stop smiling like you're a 18-year-old teen heartthrob.
That's Vince. Anytime you see guys overly smiling like him and Finn, I'm telling you that's Vince. Vince believes every babyface should smile when they walk down the aisle and they're having the time of their life out in the middle of that ring.
Yeah, and it just does not fit when you got someone with that robe. That robe, when I see it, it's Ric Flair, Paul Orton. Like, I'm better than you. Like, I'm above. And to have that and be smiling like, you're kissing babies, it just doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea, Matt, as far as the babyface with an edge type of character. I think that would work.
I'd like to see Bobby Roode start a stable like he did, like they had Fortune back in TNA. And, I'd like to see him complete heel personally, because I think that's where he's most effective. I think him and AJ, I think he could really make AJ even more of a babyface, and
definitely.
And just be this guy that you love to hate. So I don't know.
Yeah, you got to ditch that glorious entrance though, if that's the case. That's for sure.
Yeah, which I'm sure they'd have a hard time doing because it's so over.
Yeah.
So we had so afterwards, Bobby Roode won, glorious DDT, clean win. Aiden English is checking on Rusev as Roode is celebrating. Boom! Randy Orton out of nowhere with an RKO. His RKOs have been pretty sweet lately, with the ones out of nowhere. Then he hit English next and Rusev after that. So I'm guessing it's going to be Bobby Roode and Randy Orton. So we're talking about that babyface versus babyface thing. Again, I see fans cheering Orton over Roode in this one.
Me too. I hope not, but I do too.
Well, to be fair, I think Roode, if you watch again, Roode got a pretty good reaction when he beat Rusev on SmackDown. Like I said with Nakamura a few weeks back, I'm not a fan of Orton just kind of stomping on any type of babyface reaction that Roode is getting by doing an RKO out of nowhere on him. I don't think he can afford to do that right now with Bobby Roode. I think you're investing in his character, and for Orton, a legend, a shoe-in Hall of Famer, to do it, to RKO people like Nakamura and Roode, I don't think you can afford to do that right now.
And Orton don't need it anyway.
You don't at all.
Plus, it makes Orton look like the real star in that, because you hear the reactions that Roode gets, and Orton comes and he's getting the superstar reaction.
Yeah,
and,
it just stomps all over it. I'm not a fan of it.
Maybe this is if he feuds with Orton, this is where Roode starts to turn.
Could be, yeah.
All right, so next we got Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable backstage making fun of the Fashion Files and gimmicky tag teams. And this week they said they're going after the Ascension. So we had that next: Shelton Benjamin, Chad Gable versus the Ascension. Benjamin Gable getting the win. It was what it was, but I thought Gable and Benjamin looked good. Matt?
I got nothing to add to that. I'm being serious. It's exactly what you just said. It was what it was.
Yeah.
Chris?
Solid match.
Yeah, I think they're right. I think they kind of want to put Benjamin and Gable in reserve right now. Just kind of add up some wins, to kind of hand them off over to the Usos and look good, which is good. I'm fine with that, actually, because it kind of sometimes, I mean, we talked about this with Ziggler and other people. When you keep having a bunch of wins and losses, and Elias is one of the people as well, when you keep having a bunch of losses or 50-50, it doesn't really make you look good going into the next feud. And if you have a bunch of wins on reserve, it builds you up as a team. So I'm definitely fine with it. I think right now Benjamin and Gable's like that. They've got enough wins in their column to make themselves look like a legitimate team. And I think WWE is actually doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah. All right. So up until this point, for the most part, this episode felt like just a replay of last few weeks. Like nothing really new.
I thought it was worse than the last few weeks, except for the main.
Yeah, exactly. And then I thought the main event was fun. The problem I have with SmackDown main events in general is because with Raw, you have the over, so you don't know exactly when the pin is coming, when the finish is coming. With the SmackDown main event, if there's 8 minutes to go, you're not buying the near fall.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, so there were a couple of near falls here, but you just knew it. So Sammy and Kevin Owens, this turned out to be a real match. It wasn't a swerve.
Told you.
Right, yeah. It was a really good match. Towards the end, we saw Sammy blocking the pop-up powerbomb, dropped Owens on his head, and then hit a blue thunderball, but Owens kicked out. Owens rolled out to the floor. Sammy followed, started talking trash to AJ. AJ tells Sammy to finish the match, and then just decides to deck Sammy and then deck Owens, apparently not knowing what causes a DQ. Again, I thought AJ looked kind of foolish here. Again, he's the side story. They would never do this with like a Steve Austin or even a Roman Reigns, where he's this far of a side note. But that kind of was that. After that, AJ took Sammy and Owens into the ring, attacked him. Daniel Bryan came out, announced that Fastlane, the main event, will be a triple threat with AJ against Owens and Zayn. So almost the same thing as the Royal Rumble, except it's a triple threat as opposed to a handicap match. Bryan's music hit. AJ isn't happy, and that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What do you guys think of this main event?
Yeah, it was a good match. But Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens always put together good matches against each other. It's just the same story with. I don't know. Just Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. They have a fantastic matches every time, but it's kind of overkill to me, to be honest with you. And this angle to me is just like, when will it end? Because I don't think it's really helping AJ. It's helping Sammy a lot, but it's not helping AJ whatsoever. And if anything, it's supposed to help AJ Styles because he's a WWE champion. I don't think it's helping him at all.
I wish it was helping. Sorry, I wish it was helping him, but it's not. And sometimes that's okay as far as your heavyweight champion helping get somebody else ready or get somebody else over. But yeah, Sami Zayn's the one who's coming out of this the best. We said this earlier in the show that we went off on a tangent about it. They keep making AJ look like an idiot, a fool at times, and it's a shame. It really is a shame. And AJ is one that does need to be scripted for. He does. But it just shows, and I hate saying this. I hate saying the same thing because it sounds like we always shit on writers. That's not what we're trying to do here. That's not what I'm trying to do. But unfortunately, it does point to lackluster writing. It just does, because it shouldn't be brain surgery to write for AJ. Your job is to make him talk about things he's passionate about. And if he's not passionate about, your job is to camouflage that and make it look like he's passionate about it somehow. That's the job. That's not what's happening here. They're making him look like a crybaby. Well, I was saying if he was a heel and the non-champion in this equation, it would work with him coming out and acting like a little baby. Oh, you lost me, didn't you?
No, we could hear it.
Acting like a little baby in front of, complaining about Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon and getting in these hissy fits with it. It doesn't look professional. Doesn't make him look like the man. Does not make him look like the champion. It's something Kevin Owens should be doing, quite frankly, his character.
Yeah, I agree.
Why can't we just get Sammy versus AJ? I mean, this is going to be a filler match anyways. Why can't we just get straight out Sammy versus AJ at Fastlane? Why did it have to be a triple threat?
You know what? You could add the stip that since Sammy and Kevin, are mildly on the outs, that Kevin Owens is a special ref. Like Daniel Bryan makes him the ref. Then that adds a bunch of intrigue to it. Like, how do they do that finish then?
Especially if this is leading to them at WrestleMania, which I hope it's not, but perhaps it is. It would make sense if somehow Owens allowed AJ to win, but not purposely, and then there you go. Then that's when they kind of the dissension happens, and Kevin Owens has the same breakup best friend angle that he had before with Jericho.
I hope they don't do that though. I like them together. I'd rather see them as a tag team going after facing the Usos for the titles or something like that. Yep. Even though I guess it's a little step down from working the main event. But real quick, oh god. Next week they just announced just no build up, no storyline. Dolph Ziggler's facing Baron Corbin. Oh. So when people would ask me why I thought Dolph Ziggler was winning the Royal Rumble, I was like, well, it made no sense that Ziggler just vacates the U.S. title and leaves, and they take him off the road and change booking plans for all these house shows for the next couple months for no reason. So the only thing that made sense to me is that he comes back, wins the Rumble, has a match with AJ, because they'll throw the bone to Ziggler here and there. And since that match isn't going to be the main event of Mania anyway, a lot of times the SmackDown World Title match is the opening match. Right. It gives you a good match, and there's a reason why they did this storyline. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why they did this storyline. They just had Dolph quits or seemingly quits, just comes back for no reason at the Rumble, and now he's just back, and he's facing Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
Does this make any sense? Like, how do you make any sense out of this?
No, it seemed like an audible was pulled on this one here. Would you agree that, Matt?
Was there anything real that we don't? Maybe there's some things we don't know about. I mean, was there any type of thing that he did? Did he do something wrong? Is his contract up? Are they negotiating? Is there something we don't know about?
As far as I remember when he re-signed. Was it last year or 2 years ago? But it was like a 3-year deal, so he still has time on his contract. There was talk of him being the one to answer Bobby Roode's U.S. Open challenge at the Rumble, and then they changed that. Then they changed that to Adam Cole, I guess, and then they decided they didn't want to beat Adam Cole, on the kickoff show. So then they changed that to Mojo Rawley, which was probably the worst of the three options. But that would make zero sense for Ziggler to vacate the U.S. title only to come back to challenge for it. So anyway, you talk about booking a guy into nothing. This storyline just hurt Ziggler that much more. So feel bad for the guy.
And is he, if it's Corbin, one of the most obnoxious heels on SmackDown purposely, which is effective. He's an obnoxious heel. People don't like him. That's what heels do. How does that help Ziggler as a heel.
Unless
if he goes against a heel.
Yeah, unless they do some sort of angle or something, where he won't do the match, and I don't know, something.
It could be, yeah, that would be good. Hopefully that's the case. They should have held him off if they didn't do it at Rumble. I think they should have held him off until Fastlane and interrupted Bobby Roode, and then take this over to Mania. Maybe like a ladder match with both titles up in the air or something like that. Similar to Razor Shawn. That would have made it okay as far as a culmination of the angle. But now it's just like, it doesn't help anybody. I guess that's the theme of the show. Who does it help? When we see two people or two teams, is it helping anyone? And it definitely doesn't. It's not helping Ziggler whatsoever.
Yeah. Real quick, a little programming note. So for listeners to our Wednesday show, for the audio version of the podcast, we're going to be trying something new where after the show's over, if you download the audio version, you'll also get an interview. Because we do a ton of interviews, the audio usually ends up getting lost. And, we do make stories out of them, but the audio kind of goes by the wayside. So we're going to start adding the interviews to our Wednesday podcast. And today, the first one will be with Eric Bischoff. I spoke to him this week, former WCW president. It's 2 parts. For part 1 today, it'll have him talking about being at Raw 25, running into Vince McMahon, really being unhappy with TNA. He feels like this reboot's not going to work. He thinks the TNA executives don't understand wrestling. Talking about my comments about New Japan not striking when the iron's hot, and believing maybe it was the right move to just do one show. How wrestling would be different? How much would wrestling be different today if Nash and Hall never jumped to WCW and the NWO started, and they had stayed with WWF? Karl Malone, Dennis Rodman in WCW, and that angle, and that kind of led into talking about Ronda Rousey, his concerns with Rousey. How she's changed since losing her UFC fights. So really fun stuff. Really a guy who doesn't always get a lot of the credit for the current modern state of wrestling, as far as being the first to go to 2 hours and having monthly pay-per-views and really getting WWE to make these changes to kind of what wrestling is today. Matt, you've worked with Eric, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so anyway, so check that out, and the part 1 will be today. So we talked about Ziggler. Let's see here, what else do we got?
205 mixed match
challenge. So mixed match challenge was Goldust and Mandy Rose against Jimmy Uso and Naomi. When I heard about it, I didn't really care about this match, but watching it was like a live event, in that it was the first 10 minutes. There was like no wrestling, but it's really fun. And it's just, Jimmy and Goldust trying to upstage each other with the affection they're receiving from their partner, which led to Jimmy kissing Naomi. And then Goldust starts to go to Mandy for a kiss. Mandy's accepting. And then you get a roll up, and then that was kind of the start of the match. But this reminded me of like the Dark Show main events after a Raw or a live event match. What do you guys think?
You're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I'm entertained when character driven stuff in the ring or comedy even is done very well. This was done very well.
Yeah, I loved it. I think this was the best one that made sense, because it should be just kind of, comedy, the mixed match challenge. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and except for a charity that we know we're going to give, that money to because it's predetermined. That's really the payoff to this. But I immediately thought of a Harlem Globetrotters game. I don't know if you ever watched saw a Harlem Globetrotters game. That's exactly what I thought about when I thought about this. Just a bunch of comedy, hardly ever playing any basketball, but the people love to see the Harlem Globetrotters because it's all about doing basketball spins on your finger, just doing some type of quirky stuff, and people love it. And that's what I saw when I saw this match, and I think it worked. And I mean, kind of the mixed match challenge should be that. I mean, there's no, like I said, there's no payoff. It doesn't build into any storyline. It should be comical.
No.
And the promos leading up to it, it's not like we need to win. You know, they're all built on comedy anyway. So yeah, might as well continue it. So it was fun. So I'd recommend checking it out. Viewership was actually up this week, 25%. The live viewership, it peaked at around 77,000, 78,000 in that neighborhood. So again, I gotta think Facebook Watch isn't pleased with those live numbers. By the end, like last week's show ended up getting 1.7 million viewers, the same as the week before. Premiere was 1.9, but those numbers, you gotta take them with a grain of salt, because those include people just checking, you know, just clicking on it for a second or watching just the end, or, you know, and
exactly
what networks care about is live viewership. And that's why sports are getting, you know, such outrageous fees, is because of the live viewership numbers. So those, I don't see Facebook making a big play for Raw and the WWE TV deals off of these numbers. Yeah. So we had 205 Live. You know, they had Rockstar Spud last week. They said they were going to turn it around. I thought this was a really good episode of 205 Live. I thought the crowd sucked, but they haven't really given the crowd reason to be into the show for a while. But I thought the opener saw Kalisto defeat Lindsay Dorado. This match I thought was awesome. A couple blown spots, but I thought it was really good.
Me too. That was my favorite match, actually. I love that match.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would say, you know, go out of your way to see it. It was really good. Lindsay Dorado, I hope they do more with him, because that guy can go. Chris, did you happen to check it out?
Not all of it, but as far as the crowd is concerned, I think when you put 2 hours of SmackDown and then 20 minutes of Mixed Match Challenge, and then at the tail end 205 Live, I mean, I'd be checked out too.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I agree. And then they did what we were talking about earlier, this backstage video on Roderick Strong, talking about like this tough upbringing, his his mother shooting his father. Yeah. I mean, they went real, and it was so effective, I thought.
You know, I never understood, other than him being really good in the ring, what so many of like the Ring of Honor fans liked him for. I really didn't get it. He was very vanilla to me, as a persona, you know. But with that backstory, I was like, holy crap! Like, that's some serious stuff he went through.
Yeah.
And the name Strong, you know, it is really the proper last name for him. You know, it really is. And I care a hell of a lot more about him now, to know what he's gone through as a human being.
Right.
You know what I mean? It makes you automatically bite into that, like that. To bite into that steak or that burger is 10 times bigger than it was before.
Yeah, and you get into that stuff way more than him talking about how he needs to have his WrestleMania moment or pointing at the sign and that cheesy kind of stuff. That automatically connects, and doing more stuff like that, I think, would go a long way.
It's treating it like sports.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They did the same thing with him in NXT, building him into his number one contender match. Yeah, and it really, really worked. It just, I don't know. I've had him on my show before. I mean, he's just kind of. I've talked to him off air. He's kind of like that in real life too. It's not really any highs or lows. You know what I mean? Just kind of, you know.
Yeah, we've interviewed him on Wrestling Inc. before, and it's there's not a lot of back and forth.
Right. Exactly.
But he was a cool guy. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Cool
really nice guy. Mm-hmm. You know, even I've seen him in public and talked to him, and he's just really cool, nice, reserved guy, but not a wild personality.
He doesn't have that switch that a lot of people either have or don't have. Yes. And that switch is where you just turn it on times 100, and you are this personality. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
that's it right there.
I hope they can do more other than this one, background story with him. I don't know how you do it, because at NXT they weren't able to really do it, right? After they filmed that, they showed that vignette about his family and his upbringing. Mm-hmm. Okay, you got my attention. I'm at the edge of my seat now. I want to watch this guy. I'm interested. And then after his,
then he lost. That's really where it went. He lost.
Yeah, I mean, fans liked him, but they never got into him like a main event level.
Right.
What's his shtick? The backbreakers, right, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, this,
Variations of backbreakers.
Mm-hmm. And the submission, the strong lock is like a kind of like a lion tamer.
But as far as his variations of how he goes into backbreakers are insane. So they try to emphasize that when he was in NXT at first. But they need to start doing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is to make him not look vanilla. The ring jacket doesn't help.
No.
That screams 80s vanilla.
Right. The Young Stallions or something.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
He has. I mean, he's great in the ring. I mean, I've watched him for years, and I watched a lot of his stuff from PWG and ROH back in the day, and great in the ring. It's just that, I mean, he was a part of a stable. He was a part of the House of Truth. When he was there, it was better because he was still kind of like a vanilla character, but Truth Martini was a good
Truth Martini, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
and that helped him a lot.
And that's where maybe, like, if they ever did a stable with Bobby Roode, where then you could put like guys that are great workers but aren't necessarily outstanding personalities. You know, like Horseman would always have guys in there that weren't necessarily the strongest personalities, but you know, they sit in the background and laugh and smile and just laugh at the heel stuff. You could do something like that with them.
I like Rude and Strong. I like that idea. Just
me too.
Them too. Yeah.
Get a couple more. I don't know who the other two are, but I'd
Ziggler?
the other four.
Ziggler, I think it's too late for Ziggler. I think he would automatically bring it down. I would say the Revival, unless they're too small.
What about the guys in NXT? There's a couple they could bring up into that.
Yeah. I mean, Authors of Pain don't really fit.
No.
But, you don't want it to be a bunch of small guys.
Sabatelli and what's his Tino Sabatelli? What's his partner's name?
To give it variation, yes, I would agree with that, right? Because
what's his partner's name?
I have no idea.
I can't. I'm forgetting offhand.
But the guys from the what's the stable right now in NXT? What are they called?
Undisputed Era.
Yes, for instance, those two would be good, and you have those four.
Fish and O'Reilly. Yeah, okay.
That's why you put them with the others. That's why you put them in a stable of four. That's exactly the reason why.
Right, but if everyone's small except for Rude, then we've seen with the stables before when
Radicals.
You don't have you need a couple of big guys.
What about the Radicals?
They didn't last that long. The Radicals were split up pretty quick.
Well,
with their size.
Well, that was a lot to do with Guerrero when he injured when he got hurt doing that frog splash.
Thanks. Everyone's pointing out Riddick Moss, by the way.
Riddick Moss. Yes, thank you, Riddick Moss. I think those two would be pretty good additions.
Yeah. So Roderick Strong faced Hideo Itami. Started off kind of slow, but turned into a really good match. Fans just were so quiet. They didn't care either way when these guys came out. No. At one point, there was like 10 people chanting, "This is awesome," but that was like it. And they did react for the finish, but man, I thought it was a really good match. I thought this match might be able to turn the fans around, but didn't happen.
There's nothing at that. Let me tell you, I've been on shows where Cena was on Raw and I was on SmackDown, and we had Cena come in to do our dark main event. I want to say it was versus Benoit, and I'm telling you, nobody cared. And it was because it was so late, and we made the mistake of Brock picking up Big Show or doing something really impressive earlier in the show, and their energy was spent just after the SmackDown Live show. So when John Cena, who was not announced to be there, comes out, I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't like crickets, but it wasn't its normal reaction it gets. People get tired.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've said
Christ
this
can come out there.
We've said this a billion times, but they should tape this with NXT or move it to before SmackDown.
Yes.
When fans are more awake. Hey, by the way, real quick,
NXT.
I thought of someone that I think would be cool in that Bobby Roode stable. I think you do Lars Sullivan, put him in like that Batista role in Evolution.
And
I was thinking Lars, but
he's ugly.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
I think he would be really good by himself as a manager.
He's a young dude that you could get. He could learn a lot from Rude, and and you know he's the kind of guy they're going to push. So,
you know what? We were having a conversation, I think, or I was listening to the conversation I think we were talking about Paige managing someone. I was thinking Lars Sullivan. I think she'd be a good manager to Lars Sullivan because he does not need to be on a mic. I remember a few weeks ago on NXT,
horrible.
He was on the mic and he was calling out Killian Dane.
Yeah,
I said, please do not ever pick up a mic again. It was terrible. He was
he does like growling and stuff.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Remember when Batista, he used to have this, was that when you were in OVW, Matt, when he was Leviathan and he was like this demon
of the deep,
right. And so he also had that kind of unhuman gimmick and then became a real person and a giant superstar. So maybe Lars, he needs to drop the growling and acting like he's a monster. And but and I think something like that could work. But anyway, check out 205 Live. I thought the last 2 weeks, what it seems like to me is like they're letting, they're taking the reins off a little bit. They're letting them do their style a little more as opposed to having to work the same style that the main roster does. These seem more like NXT matches than the regular stuff we've been watching.
Yeah. I think 205 has the capability to be just as good as the UK division because the UK division is good because it's not overexposed.
What's it called?
The UK division with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean just as good, though? It doesn't really exist.
Well, no, the quality of matches could be really good.
Yeah, the quality of matches. Yeah. Well, NXT, you look at the takeover matches; they're unlike anything you see on the main roster.
They're really, I mean, the 205 matches are good. Nobody should ever criticize the quality of the 205 matches.
Well, before
the production is bad.
I will because before the last couple of weeks, they have been doing the same style of matches that the main roster does. So it's just watching the same type of matches with smaller guys. So you're seeing them do exactly what Seth Rollins and stuff is doing without, so why watch this show when you're seeing real stars doing that?
No, the matches are still good though. I'm saying quality as far as they don't have bad matches. They have very solid matches. Yeah. Sure. But there's no personality with 205 Live. Drake Maverick adds to it a bit, but there's no personality with the concept of 205 Live. Like NXT, kind of like a indie style thing with the UK matches, kind of like an indie style feel to it. If 205 kind of builds from the ground up and has that indie feel to it, it could be resurrected. I mean, look at NXT. NXT was trash for a few seasons. It was when Derek Bateman and
when you had to carry a keg to the ring and stuff like that.
Yeah. With all them people, it was terrible. When Titus O'Neil and Darren Young was on there. It was horrible, and they had to kind of hit the reset button. I think the 205 Live has that capability. They just need to start as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully, if they make the atmosphere is the biggest thing they need to work on, and whatever, if it's taping it with NXT, moving it to 30 minutes, taping it with NXT, or doing it before SmackDown, it'll vastly improve the show. But, and Drake Maverick, he did a promo with Drew Gulak and Tony. I keep calling him Tony Abs, Tony Nese, and
very good. Just
chastised him. He was awesome in this. And
he was good.
Yeah, so they're wrestling next week, and then Mark Andrews is wrestling. Oh God, who's he wrestling?
I hate his gimmick. Sorry, it's so stupid.
God, who's he wrestling? Anyway, he's wrestling next week, so he's making his 205 Live debut. So
what's his name? The Japanese guy, right?
Akira Tozawa, right?
Tozawa, right?
Hold on.
Let me double Tozawa. Because Tozawa, now he did great. His backstage thing, even though he's using his phone, I thought was funny.
Where he's doing the Vince McMahon walk? Yeah, it's Tozawa versus Mark Andrews next week.
I popped for that. I thought he was funny when he turned to the guys like, who do you want to win? That was funny.
It is kind of fun. It's amusing. Those things can be hit or miss. Like Cedric Alexander, they did the backstage 100%. Thing, and it seemed realistic. It seemed like he was being himself. Then they did a TJP promo, and it came across as so scripted. So
I haven't heard anything, Raj. Have you heard anything about Tozawa kind of distancing himself away from Titus Worldwide now?
Oh gosh, I think they've completely dropped that. They haven't done anything with that in months.
No, I'm saying as far as why. I mean, I don't.
That's just one of their. They'll start stuff one week and drop it by the end of the show. No, yeah. I think this is one of those cases.
I think it helped them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tozawa's got a lot of personality. So. Anyway, Kane.
He does.
Yeah. Kane is out for the rest of the month. He's doing a lot of campaign stuff. I don't know if he's injured as well. Because the fact that his match was so short with Braun almost seemed like he was, but we don't know. But he's out for the rest of the month. He'll be back in March. He's wrestling Brock Lesnar at a couple of live events, one in a singles match, and another in a triple threat with Braun Strowman. So he'll be back soon. That's about it. Guys, can you think of anything else?
Kane will get his WrestleMania check being a part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That's what I see with him.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe he should win. I mean, he
I'm
doesn't have many years left in him. The winner doesn't really matter anyway, so it'd be a nice little...
That's his swan song.
You don't agree, Matt?
He's like my third favorite. You know what I mean? But no. I always say give it to the young guy.
But it hasn't helped the young guys.
Yeah, Mojo Rawley.
Cesaro, Baron Corbin, and Mojo Rawley were the three.
It hasn't, but it features them in that moment at WrestleMania at least.
Yeah,
at least in that moment, it does feature them.
That's true.
Yeah, I would have him, and I would have Kane, and maybe like a up and comer. Be the last two, and perhaps that will kind of be a feature type deal. But I think just because it hasn't meant anything, there's no payoff. There's no payoff to it.
No, we know that. But those 30 seconds of them holding that trophy above their head with the WrestleMania background and as the backdrop, I'll take that for a young guy over Kane, who doesn't need to win anything at this point.
And I'll argue Baron Corbin. I feel like it did a little something for him. It gave him some steam on the main roster. He wasn't a low guy on the roster like a Mojo Rawley right now is.
He was the next big thing. Let's be clear about what after this.
What's that?
Sorry. Not immediately. Not
he
immediately.
was expected to be one of the next big young guys on that roster after this. Yes, he was. When you heard rumors of how he was viewed, they liked him a lot.
Oh yeah, he won Money in the Bank.
Yeah, he won Money in the Bank. Yeah,
and it was clear that the intention was for him to win the world title when he won Money in the Bank.
Right.
Yeah.
He mouthed off to a doctor backstage, and that changed plans. But
yes.
So it could mean something. Cesaro that year, they also had plans for him, but that quickly got fell by the wayside.
Well, he went to Heyman right after, didn't he?
Yeah, but last year was just a way to get Gronk in the ring.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks as always, guys. Matt will be back on Monday after Raw as always. And Chris, you got anything you need to plug?
Pancakes and Power Slam show as always. Weekly interviews. Last week we had Hornswoggle. Last night we had Brian Cage. He talked about his contract with Lucha Underground and Impact, and how that's panning out, being a member of both brands.
All right, and everyone else listening to this, if you're listening on the audio version, up next is the first part of my interview with Eric Bischoff. Thank you, and see you next time.